And most women struggle with sugar cravings, right? We want the sugar, but we don't want the sugar rush.
So it'll satiate my tongue but not kill my gut.
Stop saying jaggery has
Iron.
Oh my god.
Which one should I have? What is better?
Preference, man. If you like coffee, go for it.
I drink chai with no milk and sugar. Welcome to Skin Science. I'm Dr. Rashmi Shetty. On Skin Science, we dive deep into the world of beauty to uncover the science beneath the surface. We'll explore connections between beauty and everything associated to it with insights from experts from the medical, wellness, and beauty fields. Join us as we go beyond the basics and reveal the true skin science. There is nothing more important than the food that gets into your gut, right? So we have the best who knows food and who knows the gut, Rashi Chaudhary, nutritionist and specializes in gut health, women's hormone, thyroid, and more. She's the founder of Nutrition in Sync and Play. Yes, we better have a nutrition in sync. Please tell us a little more about Play.
So Play is a healthy FMCG brand. It's right now purely in the UAE. Of course, we have plans of expanding everywhere. But in a nutshell, I think I've created this for women who want it all. What is the one thing that where do we express our emotions the most? In food. And most women struggle with sugar cravings, right? We want the sugar, but we don't want the sugar rush. We want to taste
We want to
it.
eat, but
Yeah.
we don't want to. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that. We want to eat, but we don't want to become fat. We want to
Exactly.
eat, but we want our waistline to remain the way it is. We want to eat, but we know we don't want that sugar rush. So give me the solution, expert.
So this is what it is. I've removed all this stuff that's not good for us, that's not good for our gut, and replaced it with all the things that actually work for us. So from the carb count to the fact that we've used vegan chocolate that we make on our own, to the fact that I've added pre and probiotics, to the fact that I plan to add some guar gum, which is because it has it's guar gum.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a soluble fiber.
okay.
But I want to add all these fun things, and in fact, we have so many other things in it that make it really delicious without feeling guilt. Because a lot of times, indulgence, not a lot, always, indulgence, especially when you overindulge, comes with guilt. I wanted to get that out because I'm
Yeah.
like, indulgence shouldn't be guilty, you know?
True.
So that's why I have Play.
So it'll satiate my tongue, but not kill my gut.
It's not going to kill your gut. It's not going to raise your blood sugar level
Yeah.
too quickly.
Yeah.
And you're not going to feel guilty.
Loving that. On that note, I also want to ask you to elaborate. What is gut? Most people think gut means stomach.
Right.
Now, I want to say it is not just, stomach. So it's not just stomach, but it is the whole thing that follows thereafter. But please explain what's gut.
So it is a misconception. It's not just the stomach. And every expert will explain it slightly differently, but here's how I like to see it. So your gut and gut lining actually starts from the nostrils and goes right up to the anus, which means it's covering your nostrils, your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestines, your large intestines, your rectum, your colon, and then your anus area as well. This is your gut.
Including your mouth and oral cavity.
Yes, because two main jobs your gut has: absorption and protection. And if you go to see, all of this is doing nothing but absorbing and protecting, right?
Correct. Fantastic. I also want to ask you a little more. Explain to people which part of the gut does what.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, the thing is, actually, before we talk about which part does what, I love the analogy. Have you heard of the analogy of the conveyor belt
Yeah. Tell me.
with the gut?
Yeah.
So Henry Ford was obviously, he's the one who made it very popular to make cars really efficiently by using the assembly line with the conveyor belt. Now, what happens when you go to a factory? You will see there's a huge conveyor belt. At every 6 feet, there's an individual standing. He's an expert at doing a certain something. A machine part comes, he tweaks it, it goes to the next. He tweaks it, goes to the next. By the end of the conveyor belt, an entire fully functional machine part is made. The sequence is important, right? Imagine if the speed of my conveyor belt is too slow or too fast. And imagine the person who is doing this thing is not doing a great job or something's off. So this is exactly what happens in the gut. It's the process of us eating something and finally pooping it out. This poop needs to be perfect. It needs to be perfect, whatever. Like, I don't care if it's gross. Like, it's so important, right? Especially because we're talking about the gut right now. And instead of the people, there's microbiome and there are organs which secrete digestive enzymes, and this is all graded by pH. So this is exactly what happens in the gut. And again, the sequence is important. So if you really want to get into the sequence of it, I start chewing something. Actually, I think it begins from our eyes,
Correct.
right? Because when there are people, and I used to hear people say this before, and I used to be like, what are they saying? But like when I was really young and doing nutrition, right? I see food and I gain weight.
Yeah. Popular thing that is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, listen, but, and of course, it's not absolutely true.
Scientific,
But
yeah.
the point is, when I walk across a street and suddenly there's a bakery that's baking like whatever bread, I already start the process of digestion in anticipation, right? And some of us are so sensitive, we actually do secrete a little bit of insulin in anticipation of the blood sugar going up. But coming back to your question, I'm going to eat something. There's going to be salivary amylase, which is going to start the process of digesting. Then it goes to the esophagus, then the stomach, the hydrochloric acid comes out. Then there are pancreas, which secrete a lot of these enzymes, digestive enzymes like lipase, amylase. I don't know how depth you want me to go into. And then we have bile, which gets secreted from the gallbladder, and then all the absorption happens in the small intestine, and then a little bit in the large intestine, and then in the colon it's out. But everything has to happen in sync, for you to have that perfect poop. So I think there are simple things and then there are complex things. You can do a GI map. I don't know if you know, and you can get all these testing done to see whether, what's growing more, if there's dysbiosis, and which virus is more, which one. But I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And
there's also poop testing, by the way.
But anyway, that's a GI.
I mean, that's not just a poop testing for if you had an infection, that I'm sure all of you know. But they literally do poop testing to find out so much more about your gut.
And you know what? These are important. They have their own place.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not able to crack it with a client and you got to do this because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But having said that, simple things.
Yeah.
What's up with your poop?
Yeah.
Open up. You can Google this. Bristol poop chart.
What's up with your poop, okay?
No, but it's so important to poop well, right?
Yeah.
Because your poop should look like the shape of your intestines. It has to drop into and sink in the bowl. It can't be floating. If it's floating, it means there's a problem with your gallbladder. You're not being able to digest fat properly, and it cannot have an awful smell. It's going to have some sort of a smell. It can't have an awful one. And if you look at the Bristol poop chart, you're supposed to be between 3 and 4. 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is where it looks like in the chart. If you're on the extremes, it's not okay.
What does the chart describe? Consistency, smell, and
no, it's actually just the
forgotten.
consistency.
Just the consistency.
So is
right?
it pellet-like poop? If it's pellet-like poop, it is constipation. There's a problem with the gut microbiome level. There's a problem with the motility. Either the conveyor belt is going too fast or too slow. All of this stuff, right? So first is your poop chart. The second thing you can check is your breath. Does your breath smell okay? Sometimes it's a cavity issue, but most often it is a gut issue. Tongue. Is there, when you wake up in the morning, is that white layer on your tongue? Because that white layer is nothing but excess of bacteria, the bad bacteria. It's dysbiosis. So these are small things. Then there are deeper things. Sweat. Is your sweat smelling funky? Sometimes you'll notice this. A lot of women say this, and I've experienced this as well. If I'm stressed out, the sweat smells different, and that's your microbiome acting up. You know it right there.
Menopause makes a change as well, for example.
Menopause will make a change as well if you haven't taken care for sure. But the beauty is that these things change, right?
Yeah.
It's in our hands. It's not like these microbiome. For the longest time in the medical community, there was this confusion. Are we handling them or they are handling us, the microbiome? But then we realize it's a symbiotic relationship, right?
Yeah.
We influence them, they influence us. And I think there are so many perfect examples of explaining this, but
when you say healthy gut, do you also have small indications that the gut will give you when it is just about to become unhealthy?
I think it is this. It is, first is your poop. But sometimes, look, it's different for everybody, right? Like how you said, there's a stimulus that happens. Even that stimulus is different for everyone. We are so unique. Our microbiome is so unique. Our experiences are so unique. So I feel it's different for everybody. But simple things like poop, sweat, the whiteness on your tongue, gas, bloating, acidity, acid reflux. I think acidity and acid reflux are things that have gone far already. But gas and bloating is not normal. Having a headache every day is not normal. Sleeping for 8 hours and waking up feeling I still need more sleep is not normal. acne is not normal. These are all signs that something's up with your gut.
Yeah, the initial indicators of what happens. So I speak a lot about gut skin axis always, and I keep telling them, my acne patients, my allergy patients, my atopic dermatitis patients, all of these, my psoriasis patients, I always tell them, let me not only get your skin healthy. Obviously, we are treating the skin for their whatever is happening there, the cause of what's happening, but along with it, my mainstay has always been, let's bring back the skin to health. Let's bring back the gut to health. Let's try and see if we can calm your nerves in terms of your mind and physical activities, etc. So these three has been, I can say, pillars for me to get my skin right. So the gut skin axis is something I've explained multiple times, but I want to know from a gut expert, what have you seen while you're tackling with the gut actually clear up on the skin?
It's amazing, right? The gut is linked to so many things. And when we specifically talk about the gut and skin, I think the gut is like the soil and your skin are the flowers and the plants, right? Without that nutritious, rich soil, you're not going to
You're
bloom.
not going to flower.
Yeah, it's just as simple as that. And I think when it comes to the gut, skin, and talking in depth about the gut and skin, I love giving this analogy to my clients just to explain, because a lot of times they're like, no, but it's on my skin. So why are you saying it's in my gut? This is how. Imagine there's a VVIP party going on inside your body. When I say inside your body, I mean in your bloodstream. Okay, not in your stomach. Now, if it's a VVIP party, right? So it's going to be a lot of security. So imagine there are 4 checkpoints before people or your food can enter your bloodstream, or those people, VVIPs, can enter this party. Your first one is a microbiome. Yeah, your microbiome have to be robust. These bouncers, they're like bouncers. They have to be like really robust and strong, right? To tell the people who are not invited to bounce. Then the next is this thin mucus layer, right? Only if you're, I don't know, maybe you're on the right dress code or you have the right code, you go in through that. Then you have this epithelial lining, which is your gut lining. These cells come together and they're nice and strong and tight because of this zonulin bond, if you really want to go geeky about it. And only if you again have the right ID, the zonulin will loosen up and the gate will open and you finally enter. And inside your bloodstream, you have the highest security. Because what happens when the bouncer can't control, they'll call someone and the security comes, right? These guys are on high alert, an alarm goes off, right? They come with their guns because it's a VIP party, right? So this is what happens when, now if I'm eating really well, I take care of my emotions, I'm regularly making sure there's an emotional cleanse going on, I'm eating really well, I'm eating anti-inflammatory foods. Then once in a while, when I have a night out, I'm having alcohol and I eat burgers and do whatever, it's all good because my bouncers and my microbiome are really strong. They ask the bad guys to just bounce, right? But now, imagine I'm on OCPs. I keep taking Nexium Isabgol. I am not living a good lifestyle. I don't have purpose. All these things matter as well, and psychologically, I'm really also not in the best place. What's going to happen? My bouncers are thin and lanky. Nobody's going to get scared of them. The bad guys come in, the bouncers get scared. They call the security inside, which is my immune system in my blood. And now, what does the immune system do? It sets off an alarm and starts a war. It's going to start firing cytokines, which are IL-6, IL-23, IL-17. All these are elevated when we have what? When we have skin issues. Because these cytokines don't stay in one place. They've launched a war now. It's an autoimmune attack. And that's when they go to the skin, they react with the skin receptors, and we have psoriatic plaques. That's psoriasis. This is what happens in the most layman terms. Now, of course, you can complicate each step and I can talk about what is happening in each step, but this is the basic. So when you have an issue with your skin, it is systemic, which means the root cause is somewhere inside, right? And a lot of times it is this, your immune system.
Always, it's either your immune system firing because, like you said, the gut has caused some issue there. So body has to warn me. And which is my most visible part? It's the skin. So that is why I keep saying skin for me is just a diagnostic tool.
Correct.
What is happening inside is what is showing up for me to say, I am shouting acne. I am literally putting that red light out there for you to say, hello, hello, something happening inside. Address me fast.
You know, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is 10 times more common amongst especially women who have rosacea. There's a combination, I mean, there's a correlation right there. People who have ulcers, Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, they have nodules and ulcers on their skin which go away once you treat it, once you treat the gut. Celiac, up to 20% of celiac patients have dermatitis. I forget the exact name, but it's dermatitis.
Atopic dermatitis. They all have all of that. Various dermatitis.
And again, the minute the gluten is out,
they are much better.
The inflammation. So this is right. This is the gut skin axis. This is how it manifests in your skin.
It's so true and so profound that I keep getting slack when I keep telling people, let's work on the gut. Let's work on your metabolic syndrome. They don't try and understand saying, but I came to you for skin.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me questions about my food, my gut? Why are you even talking about my weight? Hello. It's like, don't talk to me about my weight. I cannot treat your skin unless I actually get down to your gut. Like she says, maybe the poop and maybe what you're eating, I am not interested, but I have to ask you because otherwise I won't be holistically treating your skin. And skin is such a thing, a lot of things, like she was mentioning whether it's your allergies, whether your dermatitis, or whether it is your psoriasis, we can keep it controlled. Many of these have no cure. So how do I keep it controlled? Either I have things which I straight fire the last guy, which is your immune system.
Yeah.
Earlier, we only had one tool, which was steroids. Today, we are able to identify whether it is an IL-23, whether it is an IL-17, whether it is an IL-13. We are able to identify. Individually, I can block them. So there are selective medicines for me to block it. But what am I blocking? The last guy on the line. Why don't I get instead to the first guy on the line? It's so much easier, quicker. I don't even have to let your skin burn. I will attack it at the base. So let me do it at the base camp than killing you on the peak.
24 hours. It takes 24 hours for your microbiome to start changing. We've seen this. We have the gut cleanse we've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And we have so much data now. 15 days is what it takes sometimes. And there are people who've been taking medication for psoriasis. They've been taking Nexium for years. Yeah. But nothing happens till you don't. But you're one of the few who will say this and go in depth and talk about microbiome. And I'm so glad you mentioned the weight because it is such a sensitive topic. But it's so important because
I keep getting told off. Why are you talking about my weight?
No, because that extra fat is going to secrete TNF alpha and IL-6 and all the inflammation.
I can see the teenage children, and I start talking about weight. The mothers are like, don't do it. I keep looking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but no, I have to do it.
I think everyone's just becoming so sensitive about it. And I don't know if I'll ever get it because I was never obese. So I feel like, okay, let me have some compassion for that. Having said that, I've also seen so many people really turn their life around, Yeah. So what about that?
I've started keeping these little stickers in the office.
Okay.
Just to motivate them and say that you've lost 3 kgs. Yay, here's a sticker for you. They're motivated. They're happy to do that. I keep telling them, you don't need me if you lose weight. Yeah. Genuinely, you don't. At the cost of saying, I'd rather lose business. I'd rather lose work. I don't look at it as business. I would rather you holistically be beautiful and happy.
Yeah.
And it all starts from the gut. So for you listeners, also please listen to the whole podcast because we're just starting. If you start with a fat in the morning, have fat in the breakfast, and then the rest of the day had 800 grams of fat, that's not going to do. Okay. So hang on. We will tell you now with this starting, what are you supposed to do the whole day? Only then will it become a wholesome diet. Otherwise, you're just starting well and then loading bad. So we don't want that happening, right? So I do.
So glad you said this piece, by the way, because people just pick what they want.
She told it.
And then Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So I also want to. Is there anyone that you would say avoid this starting of the day?
So some women get acne. when
Yeah.
they have ghee first thing in the morning.
Okay.
You know, so clearly it's not working for them. I need to work on their gallbladder, liver, all of that. So for them, I would say no. But you know what? Everyone needs to try it. Only after you try it, see how you feel. Maybe it's not the right thing for you. Maybe banana will work for you. This is my experience with my clients. I'm convinced about it because of what I feel and what I see. So this is my philosophy.
So I start my day in the morning with just lots of hot water. That's worked for me. Not just hot water. I love a little flavor. So I put in maybe little nettle leaves, little rose, little whatever. But I have to go through some 2-3 kettles of it. And that's my thinking time, me time. And I love doing that up until a lot time. Yeah, I have my morning ritual. What would you say about people who just want to do that? Would you say just add a little bit of your ghee into that hot water, or it's okay, wait for the fats to start with the breakfast then?
Absolutely. There are some who are like, no, but I don't have an appetite in the morning. I'm going to gag.
A lot of them say, I don't want to eat till 12. I always think, but in your head and medically, you're taught saying the breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And even there are sayings which say, eat like a king and, breakfast like a king and dinner like a pauper. So I'm wondering, what would you say for people who just want to?
No, it's fine. Don't eat anything for the first few hours if you don't want to.
Mm.
If you feel like you're not in a good place and you want to try fat first, then have a couple of nuts. Pick up nuts which have the highest amount of fat.
Like?
Brazil, hazel,
Hmm.
walnuts. These are all
Hmm.
great.
I'm allergic to Brazil nut. What's my second choice, you said?
You can have hazelnuts.
Hazelnut.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have
Lovely.
like a little bit of an avocado.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can just have olive oil.
Yeah.
Any of these things. But again, I do this because after this, I go for a workout. And there are so many other people who do this. And
On the days that you don't work out, do you skip?
no. I'll
You
still
don't.
have it. I'm
You still have it.
very set with that
Okay.
routine. But so for people like you, I'll be like, for breakfast, straight away jump to protein and fat. Reduce the carbs.
Mm.
Don't cut them off completely.
Yeah.
If you're used to eating a paratha and a sandwich, for God's sake, you're
I
going to
need
hate
it
me.
for slow release of energy. I
Yeah.
need it in the morning. I have
Yeah.
to tank up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So to do the carbs, do better carbs. Instead of a
Exactly.
paratha, do better quality
Yeah.
carbs. And if you're having a bowl of poha, and you can then put this into any other thing, right? Like just make sure that the rice to veggie ratio, when you're eating a pulao, you're eating I don't know what else, fried rice. Rice to veggie ratio, minimum should be 1:1. Minimum, and then you obviously add a protein in, right? So for breakfast, poha would be like this. You add the veggies, you add the matar, and the end product doesn't look like poha anymore. Because what are we used to seeing? We're used to seeing
White
aloo
bread. Yeah.
and a
Lots of
little bit of
white.
dhania. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes people put peanuts in, but
Yeah. So for me also, it's very important for my audience, and why am I bringing this out so much from you is fat is so villainized that they take away fat from their diet. The first thing that goes out of the diet is fat for some reason, and immediately it shows on the skin. So you end up starting to look older, your hair gets brittle, hair gets listless, lifeless without fat, starts getting, the split ends. Of course, there's protein also you need, but that you understand. For some reason, fat they don't understand. You need that fat for your healthy hair, healthy skin, aging better, absorption of fat soluble nutrients and vitamins that you are anyway loading up in the day. You think you're taking a vitamin tablet, but there's zero fat. How will the fat soluble vitamins even get absorbed? So for a healthy skin and healthy hair, for me, fat is paramount, and people end up taking it away. So thank you so much for saying fat foot forward.
Yeah. Fat
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
I
fat
always say
first,
fat
fat foot
first
forward.
thing in the morning.
I am loving
and
this.
and I think the major thing that most women, which I would like to shout out and like always say, that please remember, pregnenolone. Have you heard of the pregnenolone is your mother hormone. You've got to bow down to her, and she makes all the other hormones: cortisol, DHEA, estrogen, progesterone. Pregnenolone is a steroid hormone. It's made from cholesterol. So yeah, if you're not going to have enough
including
fat,
all your hormones,
Yeah.
you need bodies, multiple things are supported by fat. I can't sit and enumerate. Maybe some I don't even know. Some we don't even know as a medical community what a fat. It's like saying, I will eat 3 pills, but I will not eat my food at all. Because there are so many things in the food I can't dissect and say, this one has vitamin A, B, C, D, this one has D, E, F. The whole food has so many more things we still don't know. So, anyway, coming to the next question, I want to talk to you also about people who do intermittent fasting and have just one meal. So, they've skipped the whole thing in the morning, right? What do you think about that one meal? I don't mind an intermittent fasting as a shrink the hours of eating. That could be a good thing for a lot of people. But if you're just having one meal and in that meal you are having everything, what is your guidance to them?
You know, this whole intermittent fasting situation that's going on. I think, okay, so let's make it very clear. I love intermittent fasting, but I like to go cyclical with it. I cycle sync. I am a firm believer that that is one of the things that will, once women start doing it, they will have way more compassion for themselves and they'll understand their body better. It should be part of school curriculum, for God's sake, even for men, because they need to know how their women are functioning, you know. But anyway, so I like to do intermittent fasting, but I sync it with my cycles. All right. Now we need to understand that all of the data that we have, all right, is on men. In the year 2000, which is 20 years ago, correct? 2000, yeah. There was a report which was acknowledged that said that genetic differences will cause and it will have an influence on biology. And it should be considered as a variant in clinical trials. This is the most basic thing. This shows how underrepresented women are in clinical trials. Many reasons for that.
Also, just to add on to this, when you said how this is important, genetic trials, ethnics.
Yeah,
So, most trials are done on Westerners, where
absolutely.
their body, the fat that they store, places that they store the fat in, type of fat that they store, depending on what they eat, is totally different than how, according to ethnicity, we store fat. So, then if all the trials are done on them, that results may not necessarily equate to food and the result in us.
Because there's so much data, good data for men, please understand men have a 24-hour testosterone cycle. Women have a 28-day progesterone estrogen cycle. No 2 days are women the same. Men are the same every day, which is a 9 to 5 job works for them. The Industrial Revolution started this. We've just followed. And it's sad, and I feel it's changing, but it's slow. But we need to understand women are different from men. They don't have ovaries, you know. So we function in a very different way. We have 4 different phases. We can get into this, all of this later. But I like to intermittent fast based on this principle because it's the truth. Every day I don't feel like a rock star. When I'm ovulating, I do feel amazing. When I'm in my follicular phase, I feel like switched on. But when I'm in my luteal phase and in my menstrual phase, I don't want to socialize. I'm not, I want to switch off. I don't want to socialize. I don't want to do something that is stressing me out. And imagine for women who are going through this cycle, especially young girls are doing this OMAD. OMAD is 1 meal a day, right?
Oh, that's called
That's,
OMAD.
it's called OMAD.
Acha, okay.
I mean, they've marketed it so well.
OMAD. Okay.
But yeah, it's called
It
the
is
OMAD.
OMAD. It'll drive you mad. Don't. Especially during your luteal phase.
It does, because I've seen women who come to me, I don't know, somewhere in the middle, women were doing, and now that phase is gone, but they were doing this intermittent fast, 4 ghante only 4 hours you're eating, and you're doing keto together. You have to be you have to have zero compassion for yourself to fall for this, right? And I've been there, so no judgment. I've had
But
zero.
also, I think it's the desperateness because you don't know how to work your body.
I think it comes down to how do you feel about yourself. You'll never let your child do it. Moms will be like, no, my daughter can't do it. Then why are you doing it? Because she's going to do it after seeing you do it, right? So I think it's really important to understand what is your relationship with yourself. And I feel your food is one way where you express it. And it's so important to understand and observe your behavior around food to understand how you really truly feel about yourself. Because if you genuinely love yourself, not this self-love of sitting in a salon and, or eating cupcakes and calling that self-love, you will naturally gravitate towards doing what's really good for you, right? You won't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, so true. Out of our little conversation, I understand that you're saying during your luteal period where your estrogens are kind of going low, progesterone is coming up, you're saying be kind to yourself. In that way, you're saying don't do intermittent fasting or strong, rigorous twisting fasting at that time. But I also want to ask from you, blanket wise, who would you say don't do it? I'm just making it easier so people who are under, who would you say this, do not do intermittent fasting? Will not benefit you, rather.
Yeah. So if you are, I don't know, type 1 diabetic, if you struggled with food all your life, you've always gone on and off diets, this is just one of the ways your ego is tricking you into feeling, okay, this might be the next thing, So don't do it because it's not going to work. But again, cyclical is fine. So I wouldn't say like there's a blanket.
To them.
I mean, I can't think of something right now which will
Unless
make
you're diabetic, like you said.
I feel a type 1 diabetic obviously will not
Yeah,
benefit
yeah,
from this. And someone who's a yo-yo dieter will again not benefit from this. Someone who has chronic kidney issues. I mean, of course, people who are like, yeah, chronic health issues, you will not even want to do this, right? Like you'll have, I'm hoping that much sense that you don't. Women who are struggling with their like amenorrhea, secondary amenorrhea has become so common now. Women just don't get their period. 100% no, And even for them, cyclical, I would say no because
I have seen people in the industry, the movie business, who've actually, under the influence or guidance of their exercise providers, go into these kind of fasting and suddenly become amenorrheic.
let's not even get to that.
Yeah.
Because
And
now,
I'm so glad you brought this out. When I'm telling, no, there's doc, you don't understand. We need to be a for certain, but you're just tossing your whole system.
but you know what? I have dealt with, I mean, look, I think everyone has a reason for why they're doing what they're doing, right? Like, and I'm not just talking about celebrities here, even like, I get why they're being how they're being. That's just them, like without judgment. But I feel like there's so much trauma around how they feel about themselves that they feel this is the only option. I don't care if my period is not going to come. I've spoken to young girls.
So you know that it is not going to come, they're still okay to subject themselves to this, you're saying. So Rashi, my another most important thing that I get asked, and I know what affects the body skin, is insulin. So please talk to me. One basic thing. The minute I tell patients, you need to cut down sugar, promptly they say, yeah. And in the next consult, they say, doc, but I have, and I'm thinking, why is it not working? Then they'll say, but doc, I've cut down sugar. I'm only taking honey and jaggery now. I'm like, guys. Or then someone else will come and say, but I'm just eating only fruits. Sugar spike is what I'm trying to explain. So from you, I want to understand first thing, we'll talk sugar spike maybe a little later. Which sugar has the least glycemic index or the least spike? The sugar, the stevia, the honey, the jaggery, what? Palm sugar, coconut sugar. So please give me types of sugar. And if one has to have sugar, which is the one which gives you the least spike?
We could have an entire episode just on sugar, but I'm going to try and break it down as much as possible. So, two things. Number one, you need to understand that everyone responds to sugar differently, right? Two, no matter which sugar you pick, ultimately, the dose describes the poison or the dose decides the poison. All right. So I can eat any sugar, whether it's the superior ones, which are artificial or like monk fruits. A lot of people don't even know monk fruit, allulose, erythritol. These are according to me, the better sugar
The
replacements.
erythritol, I think, is the sugar right now, right?
I mean, there's a lot of rubbish research about it, but yeah, I'm glad you feel that way because I do too. So whether you pick those in very high amounts or you pick the kachara ones like maltitol and I don't know, sucralose and aspartame, or you pick your honey, jaggery, coconut sugar, dates, whatever, right? The dose determines the poison. So if I'm going to have too much, it's a problem. Now, let's break this down, right? The honey, agave, jaggery. So let's talk about these are the real sugars, right? We can all agree refined sugar is rubbish. We all know this. But again, I'm going to tell you from my experience with my clients, there are some who come very motivated. Listen, I really want to do this. I have RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and I am inflamed, my RH factors, whatever, and I need this. Okay, you need to be on an anti-inflammatory plan. You can't have dairy. No, but I need my chai.
That's a very Indian thing. I feel, I don't know how it is internationally, but chai, please.
No, I have all 95% of my clientele are Indian. So I'm like, okay, keep the chai. All right. So those 2 cups of chai are happening for this lady, but everything else she's changed. I think it's fine. Have your 2 teaspoons of refined sugar, no problem. The problem is with this that no, but it's jaggery, no, but it's honey. Now, any of these sugars you take, there are 3. Sugar is either disaccharide or monosaccharide. Monosaccharide is glucose and fructose. Ultimately, no matter which sugar you have, it's going to become glucose. Exactly. Disaccharide is sucrose. Matlab, it's made from glucose and fructose. Now, let's look at honey. 50% is fructose and close to 50% is glucose. Let's look at agave. 80-20. 80% is fructose, 20% is glucose. Jaggery, why it gets so much undue, because 70% is sucrose, which is a disaccharide, so it needs to still break down, but it's still sucrose, and the remaining is whatever, right? 70-30. We can go into each one of these, and there'll be 100 experts telling you, no, but sucrose is better than glucose and fructose.
I was just wanting to ask you next. So which one is better than which one?
Exactly, right? Ultimately,
Huh.
some glucose it's going to become glucose. So what I like telling people is keep it simple. I'm not talking about sugars from whole grains and vegetables and
In
fruits.
everything.
It's fine.
Hmm.
Again, fruit is another conversation. We can talk about it there when we talk about glycemic index. But when it comes to sugar, and if you're having a packaged product, whether it has honey, coconut syrup, sugar, whatever, turn it around.
Hmm.
You're going to see total carbs.
Hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
Whatever that is, it's fine.
Hmm.
Under that, you're going to see fiber.
Okay.
You want it to be high fiber, of
Correct.
course. And then under that,
Okay.
you are going to see of which sugars or total sugars.
Hmm.
That should not be more than in the whole day 30
what is it?
30 grams.
30 grams. Okay.
Usse zyada nahi. Even that could be higher, but I think for
What is
Indians,
1 spoon of sugar versus 1 spoon of, let's say, honey? What's a gram? What's the grams that I'm having?
so 1 spoon will be 5 grams, no? 1
So it's
teaspoon
how
is
much?
5
Oh,
grams.
it's by the weight you're saying.
Yeah, by the weight I'm
Oh,
saying.
you're not dissecting it and saying 5 grams of glucose. No.
Well, 5 grams of chini will have 5 grams of carbs. Will have 5 grams of sugar.
Sugar.
It will have.
Huh.
When I do jaggery, please, it's not a high fiber sauce.
Hmm.
Barely any fiber. And stop saying jaggery has iron.
Iron.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, how much iron? Even me, meat eater, I don't get enough iron. So what are we talking about jaggery? The bioavailability is rubbish. It's a joke. It's 10%, So anyway, the point is it all breaks down into sugar. And if you want to be really careful, let's not go beyond 30 grams. Now, this is where I feel my truffles at play are like a star product because the total carbs are I'm talking about each truffle is 5 grams. Under that, there'll be a little bit of fiber, and then under that, the total sugar.
Can I get some?
I will. I'm going to send
Please.
you. I'm terrible at this. I should have got you some here.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Oh.
but under that, the total sugar, which is only coming from coconut and honey, is 3 grams, 2 grams, 3.2 grams, So I can eat 2. I'm still getting about 6 grams of that total sugar and I'm fine. I still have so much other to spend, like so much other sugar to spend somewhere else, right? Now, if you are somebody who wakes up and has a teaspoon of honey every morning or a tablespoon, 15 to wahi pe chala gaya.
people. Hot water and honey and lemon, I start the day. Arey, honey kitna? 2 chamach gaya usi mein. That's the end of
Even
your
if
day.
you put 1 tablespoon,
Yeah.
15 grams of
Finished.
sugar is
End
gone
of-
there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So again, I'm not talking about the sugars from other sources. Now, this is your, this is the thing on
The
sugar.
direct sugars.
Now, artificial sugar, I think if a product has maltitol, I'm in the food industry. Maltitol is fucking cheap. I can use it and it solves all my problems of dryness, of my carb content, all of that. But it's really disgusting for the gut. So maltitol is trash. Aspartame, which you put in Diet Coke, is trash. Sucralose is trash. Because we now know that it has an effect on gut microbiome. And I hate when people say, oh, but like when they say that, no, but it's in small quantities, it's okay.
Small.
But the problem is that this is an everyday thing.
Yeah.
People are having these healthy protein bars or whatever
Oh God, I'll come to
every
that.
single day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you might say, oh, there's a little bit, but it's not going to work because in totality, there's too much junk coming from everywhere. So I feel if I ever add an artificial sweetener in my at play, it will either be monk fruit or allulose or erythritol, some of those better ones, which I still haven't taken a call on because I'm just confused, whether I should do that or not. So I prefer taking natural sugar and keeping The natural sugar is only low. Because
In general, if I say I'm having a like an Indian meal, which is either I'm just thinking maybe just two rotis or just a bowl of rice if you're a South Indian, some vegetables, on an average, some gravy or dal or whatever it is, depending on which part of India you are, what could be an general throw at a number to the sugar in that plate?
your rice, 1 cup, has 0.1 grams of sugar. Carbs are alag.
Correct. I'm
Right?
saying sugar. We are talking only sugar now.
No, barely anything.
Barely anything.
Barely
So I
anything,
don't have
2
to put a
grams.
count to that.
Please don't put a count to that.
So then what am I counting in the day? Just my real
honey,
sugar
real sugar, refined
Fruit?
sugar.
with high glycemic index,
fruit.
let's say?
So fruit is a whole different topic. I think fruit is nature's candy, and it should be had like that.
Hmm.
You know, instead of what is not okay is I'm gonna have fruit for breakfast.
5 mangoes for breakfast.
Or
Not
just a big bowl of fruit for breakfast. Or मुझे diet करना है, मुझे रात को सिर्फ fruit खाना है. I'm eating fruits for dinner. Recipe for disaster,
yeah,
right?
disaster.
So, yeah.
Okay, so only thing I'm actually counting when you say 30 grams is literally what I'm picking up as whatever form of sugar.
Yeah.
Right?
Whether it's refined or added.
natural
Refined
or-
as less as possible.
Hmm.
But like I said, some people love their chai.
Hmm.
And if that's what they want to keep, but they want to change everything else, go for
So
it.
be it.
Yeah. So I don't have Diet Coke at home.
Okay.
I just don't like food is
Yeah.
I don't want fake food.
Yeah.
Right? So I have regular Coke, these tiny cans, and my boyfriend always wonders, he's like, how do you have Coke? And I'm like, no, because I can't look at it as good and bad. If I start doing that, how am I being authentic with this? Right? So I'll have 2-3 sips when I want. Right? Like, what's the problem? But when you have a Diet Coke, also observe the habits of people who have Diet Coke.
ये तो diet है.
So Diet Coke will happen, then Chibra will also happen. Then more rice will happen. You can't trick your body. Your tongue is tasting it. Remember we spoke about the perception, whether you cross a bakery and you're already secreting. Your tongue is tasting it, your body has not felt it. There's not enough research on this. But I think intuitively, you can't trick your body, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, for those sugar lovers, if I have to have sugar, in Indian meals, a sugar or a sweet is offered last after the meal.
Yeah.
To my mind, this is because you're not getting the spike of the sugar. You've already had your fats, your carbs to coat, to gradually build the crescendo, and then you end up having the sugar. It's at least not doing that much damage in terms of secretion of your insulin and making it stay there. I want to ask you from your nutrition perspective. So, for those people who have to have the chai, would you rather tell them also to minimize it, have your chai with whatever 1 spoon of sugar at the end of the meal? Does it really, nutrition wise, make a big difference? Whether you have it in the empty stomach, full stomach, late at night? When is my best time for sugar?
Always. But see, when you say chai, suddenly the whole conversation changes because people want chai first thing in the morning. People want coffee with their sugar first thing in the morning. This could be good for some. It could not be good for some. I'm saying good for some because I have a bias here. Because I wake up to coffee every morning. Of course, I don't put chini in it. I'm putting butter in my coffee. But some people who are acidic, who have too much anxiety, for them this won't work. They have too many gut issues, gassy, bloated, whatever, all the time. This won't work in the morning.
Which won't work?
This having the chai and coffee first thing in the morning is not going to work, right? But coming back to sugar, yes, having it after a meal is great. But if after a meal you're going to sit and have a big bowl of mango pudding, it's not. Have a date.
Yeah.
Have a piece of I prefer dark chocolate because उसमें carbs और भी कम होते हैं, but you get the satisfaction, you know. So I love those kind of things.
To me, I personally love my caramel sea salt 80% dark chocolate. It's hit my little salt, the little sugar, and the little fat in it is like a nice, wholesome, satiating.
Because it's hit the right centers, pleasure
Yeah,
centers in
pleasure
your brain,
centers.
Because everything is
Yeah,
like activated. So
everything
it's
bulbs
perfect.
somewhere it is come
I
on.
agree. Just adding a little bit of salt to your sugar,
Yeah,
just
you're like so
hits-
happy.
it hits the right
Yeah,
spot.
It hits the
Yeah.
right spot. So now one last question for the sugar section for me is, you see a lot of people walking with those continuous monitors. Now, how much for that are you? Two, if I don't want to stick something into my skin, how do I self-monitor sugar? Is there a way that my headache may go high, or for each one is it different?
Yes, it is very different the way everyone handles sugar. For someone, an apple is not a trigger, and for the other one it is, right? So in that sense, if you're a diabetic, if you're just someone who's very curious about your health, go get the CGM monitor. I don't like the concept of getting more and more data because I'm sick of data. Like, I am sick of it. And I also had a CGM as well. And I just realized that I remember the day I got it off because I'd eaten my eggs and avo, had my butter coffee in the morning, basic, okay? It's 12:30 or something. And suddenly I see, I realize it's gone up. And I'm like, I don't know why. And then I realized that I had a email that kind of triggered me. Cortisol must have gone up. Insulin must have gone up. That's what. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't need this constant reminder of like I'm stressed out. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening. I have understood what am I in relationship to gadgets and data. I'm a freak. I don't want. I want a simple life. I want to go by, do I have the energy? Am I feeling motivated? Am I feeling at ease in this moment? Like, these are so important. And the more data we rely on externally, the more we are, I feel, creating that gap inside of us. Do I need a tracker to tell me how I slept? You know what? I wake up in the morning and I know how I've slept. And I want to, it's okay. Maybe it'll give me that extra edge, but I don't give a shit now about extra edge. I just want to, live. And
I so love that you brought this out. And I keep telling people also, like, the more and more they rely on these things, like you said, we are forgetting to be attentive to the body. Then you're thinking, why am I attentive? There's some fellow telling me the data,
Yeah.
but let me be attentive.
Yeah.
This is just a gadget which is tuned to track a standard.
Yeah.
Like yesterday we were talking with the gynecologist about your period cycle trackers. They're only tuned to track in certain way to give you the ovulation. If your body is doing your own thing, that won't give you the
That's
right day of
predicting.
ovulation. That's
We're predicting ovulation.
Exactly.
It's
That's not going to happen. Likewise, any gadget, it is better that you are in tune to what is happening in the body. A little bloating, probably you know what you ate did not do well. A little poking, you know it's not done well. A little acne, you know there is something going wrong. You know what's happening. Your mood, your puffiness around the eye. There are a million ways that if you're tuned in, you know what's happening. The minute you're relying on an external source, you tune out.
You tune out. And I feel my aim now is to just be conscious enough to rely and trust my body's wisdom.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to do that because
And that is intuition at the end of the day.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
feel my sense of who I am, or our sense of who we are, comes from our gut.
Gut
Gut
feeling.
And if we are going to constantly, today what happened, tomorrow, and even calorie counting, I don't know how you
Yeah.
feel about it.
No, I'm so against
There's
it.
so many experts who, and I always tell my clients, if you want to count calories, I'm not your girl.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else,
Yeah.
because I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And I had a miserable life. And I started looking at food as numbers. And it's not. I'm already looking at food as protein, carb, fat. Bas ho gaya. You know? Now-
I think food is so much, like you said, related to mood. Likewise, in a positive way, I want to feel happy when I eat. And I feel what I eat happily touches my gut well. It's able to assimilate, absorb, and make it of use to me a lot better than if I'm resenting, counting, angrily eating, and saying, oh God, now I eaten this, what's going to happen to my body? That only is going to happen to my body.
The guilt is going to dysregulate. If you are to go scientifically, the guilt is going to dysregulate your HPA axis. Adrenal is triggered. Cortisol is triggered. That same piece of cake is not going to be fully digested because of, So you may as well eat that cake whenever you do and enjoy it.
It'll simply become an source of inflammation triggering. That's all is what will happen with all this HPA axis and triggering it. So now let's talk about this oversensitive or sensitive thing that we have, which is the gut. Please tell me, for everybody who's listening, I want to talk about gut and gut lining. Yeah, because most people think it's the acid that secretes is only thing that the food does, or the juices that is secreted in the intestine is the only thing that the food does to the gut. But there is also a separate organ in the gut, which is your gut lining. A leaky gut is such a huge thing. So I want you to elaborate on what is gut lining, where does it start, what does it do in different parts of the gut.
So the gut lining, like I said, starts from your nostrils all the way up to your anus. Gut lining is one cell thick. It's all epithelial cells come together. Imagine, how do I explain this? Like a carpet or a brush. they have these bristles. That's there on this gut lining. These bristles are there. What do? They absorb. They are called villi. And then they have microvilli. And then they absorb nutrition. So imagine how important it must be, because it has millions and millions and millions of these villi and microvilli. Now, these, these cells are held together like a gate, which is held together by this one protein molecule called zonulin. You can actually test zonulin. Yeah, you can actually test it. It's an expensive test and it's not absolutely necessary, but sometimes yes. So if the zonulin is too much or too little, this gate becomes loose. When this gate becomes loose and your mucus lining in front of it, which is a protective layer, also it's permeable, that's leaky gut. Because suddenly things that don't need to go in a lot faster, right? During the process of digestion. And that's when, like I said, the security from inside is called and your T cells and B cells in your immune system get triggered, right? So this is your gut lining. And in order to make sure that it stays nice and tight, that zonulin has to be taken care of. Now that zonulin can go up and down if you don't have enough protein, if you're eating really trashy food, if you're not sleeping well, no activity in the day, these type of things, too much stress will open up this gut lining and then you will have leaky gut.
What happens in a leaky gut?
So again, this gate is slightly open, right? So all the toxins start to enter, and based on the intensity of how much and what is happening, and also where you are with your health, the firing will start. Sometimes it happens and then
it calms down.
It calms down, right? So it'll be instant inflammation, but it calms down. But the problem is when it's chronic. Or every day we eat gluten, dairy, is happening every single day. Gluten is not what we used to have, okay? Like 30 years ago.
Something I heard, the wheat itself has changed or something?
Hybridized variety.
Hybridized
okay?
variety. Huh.
And no matter what anybody says, you can see in the agriculture, I can't remember the website, but the agriculture, the website that they have in India, glyphosate is still being used. And glyphosate is what is causing all the drama with the gut. Yeah. There's cross-contamination, even if they say, oh, it's not banned, it's still being used. And if it's being used, means it must be everywhere. You can't trust it. Yeah. So we are now becoming more sensitive, allergic. So many people have these allergies now.
Is there a way, I'm deviating a little, but I want to ask you, is there a way you recommend people wash vegetables or grains to keep it as good for the gut as possible?
To be honest, look, I live in Dubai. It's a little bit different there. I have seen people wash it with like vinegar and things like that, lemon, all of that. And yeah, you can do those things for sure. But there's also another school of thought where when obviously the stuff is actually, when it's organic, all right? And if you know for sure it's organic, they say don't peel off the skins. Let's not wash it off too much. Eat the dirt. Because we want diversity.
Microbiome with
Exactly. We want that diversity, and we're all becoming too sterile. Our microbiome diversity is really struggling. The more diverse it is, the better it is. The more selective it is, the more we fall sick. There are so many people who have these pre and probiotics and I've seen people get worse. Yeah. They've done the gut cleanse, now they want to add, and I'm like, why are you adding it? You're going to get it in bananas, garlic, onion, and our Indian food. If you're going to eat that, it's so rich in all of this stuff, right? So I've been wanting to do this for so long. It's called the microbiome mush. Have you heard of it?
No.
I don't know why I've still not done it. I know about this since about 1.5 years ago. You go to your grocery store, go to your organic cafe, go to wherever, right? Pick up all the different varieties of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and some exotic ones and do all of that. Pick up small quantities if you're a single person who's doing it. Chop it all up, put it in a blender and just throw it in the refrigerator, in your freezer, or make cubes out of it. Every morning, pick out 2 cubes. I would put ginger and lemon in it and just have it like a shot.
And how is it?
Because I have put so many different ingredients. This is great for people who are recovering, from intolerances, IBS, all of that. Because suddenly, every day you're giving yourself a small dose of lots of different things. To digest that, lots of different microbiome have to be formed. And then suddenly you have a variety of microbiome because they have fed on this variety of food. Because a lot of times what happens, and I'm so bad at this, I eat the same thing every day. You know, I love my boy eggs and abo in the morning, boy rice, and so I'm like, I don't have enough variety. And that's not a good thing. We've seen cancer cells. The ones which are diverse are the ones that respond to chemotherapy better than the ones that are not diverse. So imagine, yeah. So I feel diversity is so important.
Very important. So don't create a dominance. That's it. Whether you're dominating this or that is not the no dominance. Let everybody co-live, and diversity and equal opportunity for them to do their job. I want to ask you two important things. One is, yes, once you have a leaky gut which goes into an IBS, let's say, how do you start dealing with it? What's do you start eliminating foods and start one by one to see let the gut heal, or what do you do? What's your process to help them?
I think a gut cleanse is mandatory for everyone. So we eliminate a lot of things, and this is gold standard. All the things which are causing inflammation, we eliminate those because I want you to see how do you feel when your gut is not on fire. I want you to experience that.
Oh, I'm almost thinking like deja vu. We both are talking similar things and similar stuff. I do this with all my patients, especially with acne, with eczema, with psoriasis, with skin inflammation of any kind. We send them a diet sheet. I tell them this is not a diet chart or a diet plan. This is just a sheet of inclusions and exclusions of your diet. And like you said, for some, I go personal when I think I really need. Otherwise, it's a blanket number of foods to avoid. And simply pulling away those food makes a huge difference. I wish there was a way where we could both be blindfolded. You say your list, I say my list, and
I'm
we could
sure
compare.
it's going to be
It'll
very
fun.
similar, right?
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
No, so I
Yeah.
feel like exclusion or elimination diets are gold standard. You can go get your food intolerance test done. You'll realize false positive, false negative. Just get the stuff out. And I'm not telling you live like this all your life. So please, we just spoke about diversity. If you're going to eat the same thing over and over again, you're going to get intolerant to that as well, right? Because your proteins are going to launch, your immune system will launch an attack towards that protein. So the point is that you have to eliminate and then reintroduce very gradually. So after 15 days, I always tell these people that, listen, whatever you're missing the most, start that first and in small quantities to understand what happened. So typically what happens in 15 days, these people will not have anxiety anymore. They will not have acne anymore. Of course, there are some who you need more help.
Yeah.
But 90% people
Are
who
much
follow,
Yes,
We'll see.
that's a big thing. Compliant patient.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a dream to have
Yeah.
compliant patients, right? It's a dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guys see so much improvement because suddenly their gut is not on fire. Your gut has this much energy. Now, it has to produce 90% of its serotonin comes from the gut,
Yeah.
80% of your immune system is in the gut, 90% of your microbiome are in the gut. It's called the second human genome. There's such an important, your gut plays a very big role. 500 million neurons come together and form the gut outside of your brain. If I cut off the communication of the central nervous system and the brain from the gut will still function. It's not going to write poetry for you, but it's still going to kind of function, which is beautiful, right? So, I lost my train of thought because I went into the gut.
Basically, you were saying how the leaky gut, how will you reintroduce them into foods after a gut cleanse?
So what I was saying is that in these 15 days, because your gut has this much energy, right? So if it's going to fight an inflammation battle, it can't do all these beautiful jobs. So get this out. See what all you are capable of. I always tell them if you're feeling really good, no need to introduce it so quickly. Wait it out. Especially women who have acne and stuff, I'm like, if all of it is not cleared out, but that generally I get 10.
Going towards the right direction and go on with it. Yeah.
And then slowly get it back because you want to relax. You want those 4 checkpoints to become strong. You want your epithelial, the zonulin to
Bind back.
Yeah. You want the gel lining to build back because it builds back.
Yes.
Then you obviously want your microbiome to also become strong, diverse, robust, all of that stuff, right? So it can take time. However, the condition is like chronic constipation. I have clients who go once a month.
Yeah, someone was telling me that even yesterday's episode. I was like, yo,
Once in 30
how?
days. And I'm like, dude, that's clearly not happening,
Yeah.
right? And you don't need just a 15-day gut cleanse. You need a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But these people need to do it longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Second commonest thing about the gut, which comes at my table, is acid reflux.
Yeah.
That I think is also common to a lot of people. For some, simply as age progresses. For some people, depending on their food habits, such as maybe drinking or eating a lot of fried food. How do you deal with acid reflux?
So I'd like to actually, to be honest, I think acid reflux is stage 2. Stage 1 is acidity.
That was my next question, but I'm glad you're addressing now.
Because you know what? Acidity is not overproduction of acid.
Yeah.
Most often it is less HCl. HCl is something your stomach secretes. That's the first thing. I mean, after it goes through the esophagus, right? Now, if you don't have enough HCl, HCl has a lot of important things to do. One, it kills off the bacteria. So coming back to your pro and prebiotics, most of them die here.
Exactly.
The acidity
Yeah,
is
washed it
1 to 3,
off.
It's gone,
Yeah.
you know. So all
Yeah.
the best, like spend
Yeah.
more money and like
Yeah.
poop it all out.
Yeah.
But so 1 to 3 may
Yeah.
that's the acid
Mm.
pH. It's like the of lemon, you know. So if your HCl is low, you can't digest things properly, you can't kill off the bacteria. What happens next is digestion is a top-down process. If HCl is not enough, even your pancreatic enzymes will not be enough, most often. So you can't digest things properly, you start feeling gassy, bloated, undigested food, seeing poop in your food, or seeing food in your poop, all of that, right? Now what happens is gases build up. And then LES, lower esophageal sphincter, opens up because of all the gases. And that's when the acid starts to come up, right? It's a backflow of acid, which is happening. And it's mainly happening because of low stomach acid. This is what I've noticed.
Yeah.
There are also...
So the food, like she says, has to pass in the conveyor belt, like she was saying, in one. The body is so beautiful that at every gate there's a sphincter which contracts and expands. Maybe one sphincter you may know is the anus, which is the end of the canal, but there's a lot of other sphincteric muscles all over. So one such sphincter is just above the bag that you see as a stomach. There's a sphincter. So that opens up and you just literally come still here. That is what happens. And HCl is hydrochloric acid. Okay, just clarifying things for everyone. So this comes out. That's what happens. So now we'll deal with also the very important thing, but some people do understand it's gut. Some people may not even think it could be gut. Skin allergies and gut allergies, I feel, are so in tandem.
Yeah.
So please tell me, how do you recognize, or how do you rather tell the audience to recognize and reach out to an expert that this is allergy? What is those initial subtle signs where it's not like, oh my God, I'm just itching and scratching all over and going mad, or I'm not continuously hitting the loo? What are those initial signs I should not ignore and come to a specialist?
This question is, we need to understand, and people need to understand that intolerance and allergies are different. Allergy can be an anaphylactic reaction. It's where your immune system is triggered and it could lead to people
Death.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful. What's happening over there is that immune system is mistakenly thinking that a harmless protein like peanuts is harmful and launching an attack. Those the firing is happening. And then you land up with hives, or you have a throat which is soaked, or your throat which is choked, or you have swollen, hands and feet and itching. You need to pop in an antihistamine because histamines are going up, right? This is an allergy. This requires immediate attention. Most people know when they have an allergy because it could happen from the very beginning as well. Like as a child only you have it. It could be genetic as well. Intolerance is different. It's a digestive difficulty. Your body does not have, say, lactase, so you are lactose intolerant. You will know this because you'll be gassy, you'll be bloated, you will have smelly gas, you might feel like your poop is, watery. So these are signs that, of course, there's something which is not going right. But gas, bloating, headache, feeling suddenly too sleepy after eating something, these are all signs that there's a digestive difficulty, and that's an intolerance. Sensitivity could be IgG will be elevated because in an intolerance, in an allergy, IgE is really, But with a sensitivity, it's more like it could be immune or not, and it could be delayed, which means today I eat something, and after 2 days, I might feel it. So that's more like a sensitivity. Could be immune, could be non-immune. Now, when you don't pay attention to this, if you think, "Arey, I'm just bloated. Arey, it's just diarrhea. It's just," you don't pay attention. What's going to happen? Same. Eventually, those bouncers, those microbiome, those all of those are going to attack and tell your immune system, "Come." The minute it's an immune attack, autoimmunity, then the problem is all autoimmune conditions have the same mechanism. So once you have one, and honestly, autoimmunity comes in the way of your life. 80% of your lifestyle, your life productivity, quality is compromised when you have autoimmune. The most common one is Hashimoto.
Yeah. Everybody has thyroiditis today.
And people don't know that it's Hashimoto's. They think it's just thyroid. T3, T4, medicine, levothyroxine, and no, it's like not going to help.
So it's likewise to the skin where, some people simply get sensitized because of maybe a dry skin, a barrier that is non-functional, which thanks to us, we are only spoiling it. You look at the internet and say, aaj to I will put vitamin C. Tomorrow, this star said vitamin A, I'll put vitamin A. Somebody says, So you put 25 actives on the skin and you sensitize the skin where otherwise I could have put something and it wouldn't have reacted. Now that I've sensitized, I've disrupted the barrier, disrupted the microbiome on the skin, disrupted the lipid layer on the skin, like you were saying, how the epithelial layer is held together. The barrier of the skin also, all the so-called keratin dead skin is also held together by a lipid, which also we end up disrupting. So the barrier is fully compromised. Then something which is very normal can sensitize your skin, irritate your skin. But allergy is another ball game where all your Langerhans cells, your dendritic cells are taking them in, putting it into the lymphatic system, triggering the T cells to then cause an allergy, and where there's also a memory part where it'll remember now. There is a cell which is acting, there's a part of the T cell which is memorizing it.
Absolutely.
Now, the next time you come near me,
Yeah.
I'm going to put a bigger bomb and a bigger
Absolutely.
bomb and a bigger bomb. That's
Yeah.
what happens. Initially, it could just be a little itch, a little scratch. The second time, you're saying, oh my God, it became worse. Third time, you may be choking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that is how it all builds even on the skin.
Yeah.
So when it comes to gut, there are a lot of times you'll say, but I ate bendi all my life. Now today suddenly I'm allergic to it. How does that happen? And when do you then, if at all, stop it and reintroduce it? So just tell me that.
Because you have abused and trashed and caused so much trauma to your gut's like now done. Now it's reacting to things, right? So this is one. But second thing is that yes, you will have to eliminate it for a while, and reintroduction, your body will tell you when it's ready.
So when I say, would it be an average 3-month, 3-week? What would you say? Just an average ballpark.
I mean, an average sometimes could even be like a month. If a lot of your other things are fine, you're taking the right supplements, you're in a good place, sometimes it could take a month. And sometimes, honestly, it can take up to 2 years. 2-3 years it can take. I could not digest fiber.
Huh.
Yeah.
In general.
No, because I did all those crazy diets and, like keto
yeah.
and this and that, your diversity goes to shit. And I couldn't digest like fiber at all. Even if like I ate a raw tomato or lettuce or whatever, I just wouldn't be able to. It took me a while, but now I can eat a big bowl of salad and be okay. But it took a long time. It had to happen very gradually. So with fiber, anyways, we're going in a different direction. But the point is that whenever you reintroduce things, right? Low and slow, low and slow, low and slow, because your gut takes time.
So in the field of allergy, there are certain specializing experts who actually then bring back, slowly sensitize your skin, slowly put that allergen back, and then reintroduce it. So yeah, that's exactly
20 grams.
Yeah.
You start with that dose. And that's why I say when you're recovering microbiome mush, again, I've not done it yet, but I really want to do it. And I feel like it's important that we do this, thing of microbiome mush, like bring it in, because that's what will introduce.
What's your take on fermented food?
I think it's great, right? Like fermented food has the most amount of probiotics, all of that. But actually, fermented food is not supposed to have vinegar. And if you pick up a fermented food on the, from a shelf, there's it's loaded with a lot of stuff. They also put the worst kind of oil. They always put safflower or whatever, whichever the cheapest oil, right? But yeah, fermented food is great. It's just that some people are not ready for it. So again, smaller quantities. If you're too sensitive, so you are supposed to take a solution of salt and water and lemon and sometimes honey, and you soak these things and you keep it for a while. Again, I've not done this myself, and the ones that I've always bought have this. Or kimchi is very easy.
Yeah.
Right? Like I bought kimchi, which is a clean one. I know there's this restaurant literally under my building, which is home to me. And these guys do damn good kimchi fried rice. So I get kimchi right from there because I know the chef. Oh, it's your very popular.
Chef Chung.
Yes.
Okay, I know him too. That's
Kelvin.
nice. Please say hello
Kelvin,
to
yeah.
Kelvin. Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can trust Kelvin
Yeah,
with things.
totally.
And
Yeah.
so he makes this really cool kimchi,
Yeah.
and I just store it, and
Yeah.
that's what I
Oh,
have. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So the pre and probiotic mix, or the fermentation that we as South Indians have, is ganji, which is now anglicized to make congee. And so that's just the leftover rice from the previous day is just kept in, I think, in a heated thing. I am not too sure. Like you said, I have not done it. You should ask your mamas from South India. And in the morning, it's fermented, and you eat that with curd, and that's supposed to be the best probiotic that you can have because it's so much diverse there.
Right.
So it's a perfect thing to have. And I see even bongs do that. So like Chinese do the kimchi. So
Yeah.
various people have in the culture.
Kimchi, sauerkraut, pickle, yaar.
Apna
Aam
pickle,
ka
na?
pickle, yeah. Those
That's
are so great.
fermented.
It's a
It's
great
not,
source
no?
of probiotic, prebiotic.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So I mean, people can have that, but it's just that with yogurt, although fermented, all of that again, a lot of the probiotics just die off because of this acid thing, right? And then you're left with lactose and casein. Also, you were talking about early periods, right? You said you had something with another gynac, and why? Because like we're consuming commercial milk, and commercial dairy is just not.
So much hormonally impregnated
Yeah,
cows.
so I don't know how much I buy the yogurt thing.
Yeah.
I just don't anymore.
Yeah.
What's
What's your take on spices, regular spices in our food with sensitive gut?
So if you're gonna actually know the source of where you've got it, now I don't want to name the brand, but I remember seeing there's a lot of
Some
stuff that happens. So
thing
those
happened,
spices
yeah.
are not happening.
Yeah.
But if you're going to take ginger root, you're going to take turmeric root. I actually use the real root whenever I'm using it at home. It's so easy to get. It's there everywhere, So those are, of course, great, right? They add so much. They work like digestive enzyme. They work like digestive bitters. So the logic is that when you taste something bitter, your digestive juices start flowing. And those are the things you need to digest everything and break it down, right? So, yeah.
Also, the bitter is such an important taste that we stay away from. But bitter actually increases your GLP-1 agonist. It works like that. Our very own Ozempic at
Yeah.
home is your bitters
Yeah.
to actually put into your gut, and that helps you satiate better, eat less,
Correct.
everything that a GLP-1 secretion does to you.
Yeah. And now that we're on this GLP-1 conversation,
Conversation, huh?
when you don't get enough fiber, right, and the pro and prebiotics, there's dysbiosis, you don't make short-chain fatty acids, and your short-chain fatty acids are like food for bacteria, There are 3, propionate, butyrate, and acetate. You don't make these 3 enough, and your GLP down-regulates. And GLP does what? It helps with insulin sensitivity,
sensitivity,
yeah.
feeling full.
Yeah.
Also, GLP-1 has a pathway to the brain to make you, in the frontal gyrus, to decide the food well.
Correct.
So, isn't it
Yeah,
so much benefits which we don't realize?
There's so many GLP receptors.
And it's just
in our
good
brain.
fiber, maybe bitter in the taste category, is all which really helps.
I think it again comes with a vicious cycle, virtuous cycle. Start making that one change, and then slowly, all the other changes. Also, because we are talking about so many things and people are going to take away so much, I feel like it's important to tell them that give it time. Like sometimes there's so much of this information everywhere. It's overwhelming.
That's exactly why this podcast, I wanted it coming from an expert's place where I have literally chosen each of you experts who I know in my 25 years of practice, I've seen and known who's actually the best in business. No, I love the information you put out, and I'm loving this conversation, which is at a level I wanted this to be. This is fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for being a part of this. I also know there's one thing that you highly advocate, the diet according to the menstrual cycle. Can you just dumb it down, simplify it to say, have this, have this, have this, and why? That's it.
Correct. So, for phases in our menstrual cycle, it's like our inner compass. The minute we say yes to cycle syncing, we are saying the body wisdom that we're talking about, that's what we are saying yes to. Because for years on end, we've done what men do. And that's not how it should work, right? So, anyways, let's start with the menstrual phase.
Yeah.
We can go into brain waves, and I again, we need a whole episode on cycle
Each
syncing.
thing that we are talking.
So it's going to be really hard for my brain to
Yeah.
choose and pick.
Yeah.
But menstruation is an inflammatory process in itself, which goes to show how important inflammation is, right? If it's a
Yeah.
natural process, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
So you're shedding your lining and all of that. And at that time, it is an inflammatory process. So cinnamon, anti-inflammatory things. Cinnamon, ginger root, these things are great. Licorice tea is amazing. But I also want to point out, this is the time we also feel like a cupcake, and we feel like not a cupcake, could be a full cake, whatever. No, yeah, exactly. So what I tend to do, sometimes I just give in, I'm like, whatever. But most often I've noticed few days before, when I'm closer to my luteal or in my luteal, I will prep these things at home. I always have play, but sometimes if I want a cake, I don't have play. So I'll bake one with the right frosting and all of that and keep it. So in case I feel like it, there's always an option because it's so easy to order.
Today, yeah. I think that's another big reason for obesity, for metabolic syndromes, for PCOS convenience. If we wanted food at that time, oh my God, it was another thing.
It was another thing.
Yeah,
right?
but
So
by
this
the
is-
time we figure out, we said might as well not have it.
yeah.
Yeah, now it's
Yeah,
so easy
but
on
now-
the fingertips.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Also, it just fits in your lifestyle. You're sitting and watching TV. You don't want to go make something. You can just order it on your phone. Anyway. So I think in your menstrual phase, it's important to understand you are going through an inflammatory process, and it's important to eat a lot of anti-inflammatory stuff, even though you really crave all the inflammatory stuff. This is your menstruation phase. Yeah. Then we go into our follicular phase. This is a fun phase, all right, because you feel like the rock. Yeah, all of these things I can do it. Queen bee, because estrogen is, I like calling her queen bee because she builds things. She feels there's this magic around her. Her aura is different. She has an I can do it attitude, and this is the time you also should do things which are bold. Your social skills get better here. So go out, do things like doing a podcast if you that intimidates you or whatever it is, right, for you. But anyway, so at this time, you want to make sure estrogen metabolism is good. You want to have things like flax and pumpkin. You want to have, I would even go to the extent of giving someone a DIM supplement if I know they're estrogen dominant. All estrogen flushing foods, that would be my, I'm trying to keep it really short right now. So I'm finding it hard to. Then comes your ovulation. Ovulation is where LH, she's like she surges up. Now, on that particular day, there's nothing like you can do. It's what's happened throughout. And this is for all women. Getting your period and seeing bleeding just because you can see it is not the main event. Ovulation is the main event. Without the LH going up and you ovulating, you're not really getting a period. That's just a withdrawal bleed. And this is what OCPs do, But anyway, that's a different conversation. So when your LH goes up, the research I've done says spirulina, because again, it's a slightly inflammatory process. But what you do before, your zinc, iron, both of these, the capacity, you will not ovulate if you are low in ferritin. Correct. So you're having an anovulatory cycle, even if you're bleeding. So anyway, make sure all of these are well understood and taken, you've taken supplements if you need to for it. And then comes your luteal phase. Now, luteal phase, you can divide into two. Early luteal and late luteal. Early luteal, you're still okay. Your brain waves are like faster alpha waves. So you're still doing a lot of things, but you'll notice you're closing a lot of projects. You're really good at math here around this time. So closing accounts, doing some admin stuff, all those things really work. And then towards the end is the late luteal. Late luteal is where, so in the middle somewhere, progesterone goes up and comes down. So you want stuff that's going to boost progesterone. We never have a high progesterone issue. Most often it's low progesterone. 95. I have never met someone who has high progesterone. So when it comes to low progesterone, you want to eat sesame, sunflower seeds. You want things like lion's mane, which is this mushroom powder, which is actually really great. You want licorice tea. You want things like these, which will boost your progesterone. Covered all.
Fantastic. Yeah, this is nice. So basically, you're trying to sync with the body's clock, sync with the body's hormones and
Yeah.
happening. So fantastic. This
You're
is a sort of a
syncing your
circadian
food-
rhythm type for the month.
For the month. But
Yeah.
you are syncing your food, your workouts, your activity, meditations, a type of meditations like if it, some spiritual teachers talk about this really well. Ovulation is where the LH goes up, right? She's
Yeah.
a miracle worker. She is going to do so many different things because that one egg has to come out, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much power that can actually
Yeah.
lead to another whole life,
Life.
right? So imagine how much power LH has. This is the time they say do your manifestation meditations.
Really?
Yeah, like in Dubai, we have these
Yeah.
beautiful things, we have all of this, and I've done all of them, like full moon, new moon, ovulation, like it's amazing.
Wow.
So I'm saying it in the worst way,
Hmm.
but like you can actually do these things to sync even more with your body's wisdom.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is so amazing.
Yeah.
What's a seed cycle?
So seed cycling is basically you divide your cycle in two halves for the sake
Okay.
of seed cycling, the follicular phase and the luteal phase. Follicular phase, you eat estrogen foods which help in estrogen flushing or improve your estrogen metabolism, like I said, flax and pumpkin. And when you're in the luteal phase, you have sesame and sunflower. This is seed cycling. You take these seeds because they promote estrogen and progesterone.
The other thing that really a lot of kids I find it difficult to explain to them is among those elimination list, for me easiest to tell them is anything that comes in the packet don't eat. But there is so much more also to processed food, right? So can you just from an expert standpoint tell us what is processing, what is a have to good process, what is a bad processing, and what is it that we don't know may also be processed?
Correct. So look, anything out of a box, in my opinion, is processed. I know the ingredients I put into play, but it's still not something that play was not growing on the growing in the it's not from the ground. So yes, in that sense, it is processed. There will be certain foods which will have wholesome ingredients, and for convenience, it's okay. But what I have a problem with are these vegan meats, soy chunks. People have it as like yogurts, which are full of like it's just. So these are things which you feel it's just yogurt, but the minute there's a sugar in it, it is going to be processed. It's going to have its own impact on your blood sugars and all of that stuff, right? So I think it's really important that you turn things around and read the ingredients. Like what is it made up of? I think when it comes to processing and manufacturing food, even your gluten and rice and none of that is like the herbicides, glyphosate, all of this that is being used, the antigenicity of food is changing, which means that food is becoming foreign. It's becoming an invader.
Allergen in itself.
Exactly. Because coloring, because of the processing method in itself. We were doing stone grinding. Now we're doing steel grinding. Not everybody has access to khapli wheat. Okay, let me eat organic. Wo bhi pata, who knows how much, like how do you know this, right? So we have to take all this with a pinch of salt. And we have to understand that we can only control our controllables. I cannot go and control where's my white rice. I prefer white rice over brown.
Why? Tell me. I'm a Mangalorean. I love my brown rice.
Okay, great.
And I
No,
think that's a healthier rice.
it's great. And if it works for you, then that's fabulous. Again, that has the fiber content is higher, so it'll keep you fuller for longer.
I think also our brown rice, which comes from Mangalore, is not as polished as the white rice which is commercially available. So the whole process that earlier, of course, we used to see, I also come from an agricultural background, so we used to see how it is done whole way. Like you said, it was stone that used to be used, but now there is a process. But I feel it is less processed, if I may please.
No, of course.
That's my belief. So please tell me.
No, but the thing is that, see, I have specialized in like people who struggle with autoimmunity, IBS. I've had young girls come when they get up, their skin has shed. Like that amount of madness, So white rice is actually way better for them. And I would tell everybody, try it for some time before you switch to brown, only because arginine is a lot higher as well in brown, 80% more. compared to a white rice. And white rice is polished, which means it also removes all the anti-nutrients.
Also, nutrients doesn't it remove?
Anti-nutrients. It does, but it's very easy on the gut. Again, I'm talking from the whole, it's very easy on the gut. A lot of people don't tolerate brown rice very well. I'm very happy with white rice. So I eat that. I eat a lot of vegetables along with it. So like it's more wholesome. And yeah, sometimes I also have brown rice, but most often a red rice and all of that. But a lot of times people who have a sensitive gut don't do so well on it.
The next thing that we all want and we want more detail is caffeine.
Caffeine.
So tell us, firstly, caffeine or tannins, which is in the tea. Which one should I have? What is better?
I
Why?
think it's your preference, man. If you like coffee, go for it. I prefer coffee. So you're talking to somebody who loves coffee. So there's going to be a bias here. I don't think there's a problem with coffee at all. If you're going to keep the limit to 400 mg, which is like 2 cups of coffee a day, one has about 200 to 250, right? Actually, it has a lot of benefits. Better for your blood sugar levels, better insulin sensitivity, keeps your blood glucose levels down, all of that. Plus, it actually improves or multiplies bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, which are 2 really good bacteria for your immune function. Then what it does is, it turns on the adenosine receptor, right? That's why we have that awake feeling. When that happens, suddenly CCK, which is a digestive enzyme, cholecystokinin goes up. What does this do? Gives you satiety, which is why when I have my butter coffee in the morning, I'm also like full for like 2-3 hours. I can work out. Gives me satiety. Also stimulates my gallbladder to secrete bile. So my fat metabolism happens better, and also to some extent improves gut motility, which is why people also want to run to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Does
Does tea do the same things?
Tea can do the same thing because it also has caffeine, but 50% less, right? The problem with chai is not chai itself. It's the
Milk and the
add-ons.
sugar. No, I drink chai with no milk and sugar.
So great. Okay, so you're a tea person.
Yeah, I'm a totally tea person. I'm
Yeah.
one South Indian who can't handle coffee.
Oh, really?
I don't like the smell of coffee.
Oh,
Can you
wow.
imagine? Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
say, what?
Yeah.
But I don't like the
No,
smell
I know
of
some people who
coffee.
just can't deal with the smell.
Yeah, I cannot. For me, it's like cigarette smell.
Oh my God.
It's like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, for me, it's I love coffee. Like, even smelling it, I'm clearly addicted.
Yeah.
I have 2 a day.
Yeah.
And also with coffee, the fact that we're talking about it, it's really important that we understand post 12 p.m., we don't do well on coffee. There's someone like, no, but I have coffee and I go to sleep.
Yeah, that's what people
There are
say. I'm
studies
like,
done
how?
on this. Yeah, your sleep architecture sucks. If you actually had to have a Whoop or whatever the hell else on your
Sleep
wrist, or,
app, whatever.
you'll know that your sleep architecture isn't that great. If it's great, go for it. Do what you want, right?
Talk to me about sleep and digestion.
Yeah, sleep is, I think, the most important thing.
Favorite thing. Yeah.
I am so addicted to feeling good the next morning
Yes.
that I want to sleep. I sleep by like 9:30.
Likewise.
Oh wow, okay, good.
9:30 to
Okay, that's
5:30.
great.
I have to
Yeah,
sleep. Yeah,
that's
I'm
great.
out.
No, yeah, exactly. Those are my timings. And I've
Yeah.
realized for most Indians, and I'm saying this because I have so many clients who are very similar in this sense. When they come, they're like, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever. I'm like, okay, let's try. By month 3, they're like, you know what? This is life changing.
Yeah.
Because you have an early dinner. Suddenly your melatonin is being able to get secreted because your cortisol and insulin are not jumping, and cortisol, melatonin always compete with each other.
Thank you for saying this. I hate it when people are popping 5 mg melatonin. And I keep saying early morning cortisol is finished, killed. It will never secrete with 5 mg melatonin at some 10:30 in the night because abhi neend nahi aa raha hai. I'm going to take melatonin. So your melatonin has to secrete by around 8 for your cortisol to secrete at 8 in the morning. You need the 12-hour gap, and the body has how much it needs to secrete. You can't be pumping in 5 mg. There are those little slip kind of things. 5 mg melatonin.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And people
I mean,
don't know at
melatonin
all.
is a hormone.
Thank you.
And I'm like, dude, you can't do this.
You know, you have to
because-
see the composition of my Restwell. You for what? I'm excited. I'm going to
Oh,
take
wow.
a break and show you my Restwell and get it vetted by you
Oh,
to say,
wow. No, I want to
what do you think? Yeah.
Please tell. Does it
I
have-
will.
does it have-
I'll show you the composition. You have to see it and then you need to tell me
Okay, I can't wait.
pass or fail.
No, I'm sure it's going to be be great, but
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I always tell people 6 o'clock ke baad, turn off your lights.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for them to do this also.
But they will turn off the light, like we were talking
And
about
then sit
sugar.
with-
Haan.
yeah.
Sugar nahi, but there is a thing. So they will turn
No,
off the
but
light
you know what?
and there'll be
Now,
this
I
screen.
mean, you can wear those glass, and they really work.
Mm.
You wear those glasses and you watch some TV. You can actually, I've done this 2 days ago, where I've removed the blue light from so my phone looks red, very close to red, but the blue light is gone. I'll show you. Yeah, I will. In fact, I was like, I want to do a post on this because so many people struggle with this, and I'm on my phone all the time for work, for like so many things. So anyway, switch off your lights after 6 p.m. My clients who struggle with, like, they have massive sleep issues, I make them sit in dim light. Put candle lights on, for God's sake. Remember to turn off the candles before you go to sleep. But that's one. Early dinners for sure. Snack on dinner. At dinner time, sit and eat a small snack. Have nuts, have whatever, dark chocolate, whatever you want. And L-theanine.
Yes.
Do you have L-theanine?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So L-theanine is what
Yeah.
I would tell people to go on for
Yeah.
sure, rather than melatonin. Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Now is the section on supplements. I also want to know from you what you think of. Before I start that, I want to. One supplement I struggle with is iron. Because I want to give iron. I know how vital it is for my hair, for my skin, for my dark circles, for my pigmentation on the skin. Like for multiple things, for me, iron is important. But iron gives so much gastric irritation and constipation and black stools, and people freak out with it. So please tell me, how do you supplement iron in terms of food rather than a pill in the mouth?
This is going to be controversial, but we don't get enough iron. Indian women don't get enough iron because, look, I eat meat and I'm not eating a chicken liver. I have an aversion to those things. If you're somebody who eats liver and you're okay with organ meats, you're probably good. But if you're like me or most other women, or in fact vegetarian or vegan, you have no chance.
Yeah.
Because of the bioavailability. You know, like how they say, it's a joke, this jaggery, I don't even know how much what I'm trying to say, or spinach, the bioavailability, there's heme iron and there's non-heme iron. Heme iron is the one that you get from meat. Even uska bioavailability is 40%. And I'm 40% saying on the higher side. And with non-heme iron, like the one you get from spinach and everything else, is 10 to 15.
And plus, absorption from the gut is so bad, even if you get it. Two supportive things like vitamin C, your B12, your B6, all of that, also zinc, everything is low in many people. So the supportive fellows are not there. Gut lining is not great. It's not absorbing well. And firstly, what you put in has no bioavailability.
Exactly. And the topsoil globally is depleted. So you have no choice. And I don't care what anybody says, you have no choice but to supplement. There's an evolutionary mismatch. Things outside are moving so fast compared to what we were able to handle, or what we are able to handle genetically and physiologically. There's a mismatch. We are not getting the food. Like I said, the antigenicity of food is changing. The way food is being manufactured is changing. You have to supplement. There's no other choice. And I saw this massive shift in the way I was feeling with my symptoms during perimenopause. So I have endometriosis, right? And
You must have had early menopause.
no, I'm not. I'm in peri. So perimenopause means for the next 10 years I could have
You
my
could
period.
still keep having it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I was really struggling when it was new for me, because I was like, this doesn't feel right, and that's when I started taking supplements very seriously.
Yeah.
Life changing.
I'm telling
Now,
you.
but supplements are 10% of the story. The remaining 90% is still what we've spoken about, right?
So true.
Till your
Yeah,
foundation
no, so
is not, till your foundation is not there, you're wasting your money on supplements and probiotics and all that.
And supplement has become such a market today, has become like another, everybody's making supplements. I want to just talk to you briefly on I, for one, don't believe in certain category of supplements, by and large. I want to know, without biasing you, your take on gummies, effervescents, and those thin slips which go into the mouth.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing is bioavailability, right? Like, how bioavailable is it going to be? You're just going by how fancy it is, how
Yeah.
good the marketing is.
And that effervescent, the amount of sugar and soda bicarb that it
So
has.
there's quality of sugar also.
Yeah.
There'll be glucose syrup, there'll be high fructose corn syrup, there'll be actual refined sugar. And again, because it's happening every day, and it's also happening in other forms,
Yeah.
it's important, right? You got to make sure that the supplement you take every day,
It's not adding meter dose of rubbish also.
exactly, there'll be fillers, there'll be so many other things that go in which are not going to help. So for me, I feel supplements, I'm very picky
Yeah.
on what I'm going to put.
Yeah.
I spend money on it because I'm like,
Exactly.
I don't care if it's expensive,
Yeah.
because
It
it's
better
going
be
inside.
expensive because
Yeah.
the ingredients then will be picked right. If it is something so cheap, you need to know. For example, everybody's in a business, right? They need to meet their bottom line, they need to run a business. Where is the compromise coming then in what is going into that product? So you need to be very careful when you're looking at cheap supplements and deals in supplements. No, you need to make sure that's going into you. Make it the best. Spend money on that.
Absolutely, because that's going in your system. That's going inside that VIP party. You want the VIPs, like you want the who's who. Exactly. You don't want the trash stuff in, right? So I think you're right. When you're running a business, it's important to meet that bottom line and all of that. But like, if you're not going to compromise on ingredients because your ethics are so there, you cannot sell a cheap product.
Cannot sell a seed.
Because the demand is not there. The demand for coconut sugar is not there. For maltitol, it's there. Every
Packet.
protein powder, protein.
Please tell me about protein bars.
Yeah, trash.
Isn't it?
trash. I'll tell you the problem with protein bar. I'm trying hard to crack it since 3 years. I haven't, because if I want to put 20 grams of protein in a bar and I want to keep the bar tasty, because look, without taste, I cannot sell a bar which is, it's not going to work. So, and for me, taste is very important. I just feel like food should be tasty, or it should be something I like, right? So, for me to fill 20 grams in a tiny bar, which is 55 grams, is impossible if I don't add crap in it. I'll have to put maltitol, I can put dates and coconut sugar like what I'm doing now. I'll have to put a lot. So then my sugar will go up. I'll have to have 35 grams or between 25 and 35 grams of carbohydrates to give you that 20 grams of protein. I don't know, like I'm always conflicted. Like, do I want to do that? Do I want to sell any healthy or good protein bar that you pick up that you think is healthy? The carbs are going to be too high. I'm going to eat an egg.
You would rather eat food.
Yeah, just give me an egg. Give me a protein powder. I like protein powders. I think they are great. They just don't suit me very well if I'm having it every single day. But as a quick fix, it's great. But the clean ones.
What is your alternate for whey protein? Because there are a lot of people who are sensitive to whey protein, and I see that they've started whey protein and truncal acne really increases. And I keep telling them, cut the protein, but at the same time, I feel them because they are wanting to put on that muscle. They're working hard. They're like, but doc, it's like I'm taking away their kidney. They're like, please, I need the protein. So I want to know, you tell me, what is my alternate vegan options in terms of protein?
So, again, like I said, I love protein powders, pea protein, of course. Any of these cheap protein, anything will have soy. We don't want soy, it's genetically modified, it's going to cause all the drama, so we don't want that. But there are quite a few now Indian brands as well which do it. But I think, from as far as I know, it's always a combination. They're not doing pure pea protein, but I don't want to take names, it's fine. But there are some which are really good actually.
Other than pea, I've heard there is rice protein. I've heard there is pumpkin seed protein.
Yeah. All of these
So
are
tell
fab.
me which ones are fab.
So I love the pea protein ones.
Okay.
Pea protein isolate. Those are great because they
That's
won't
your top on the list?
For me, that would be my top on the list. And I know that there's a protein powder that does it, right?
Okay.
Then, of course, you can also have, there's always a combination. There can always be a combination of pumpkin. You're right. It's pumpkin, brown rice, and pea protein.
These are the
This
three.
combination is also really good. But soy is definitely out.
Obviously.
You know?
Yeah. I still remember initially there was this one trainer who was again trainer to the stars, and she used to give everybody soy bars. And everyone used to come with this bloated gut and the lower belly bloat. I'm like, guys, soy is not happening.
And if you want soy, let's do it in the form of edamame. And do it in the form of tempeh. You'll chew out tempeh. It's not yummy, you know. But edamame is great. Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you know that you can do organic tofu, it's really not bad. But it's important that you don't do it every single day. Yeah. That can, I think, sometimes trigger.
If I don't want to take powders, what is the highest protein in a vegetarian source?
Vegetarian, you'll get your, obviously, you will have dals. But highest is challenging. I would say cheese and milk. Yeah. But now how do you do? The problem is, when you're vegetarian, you'll manage. If you work well with your, like, look, not everybody needs to stay off gluten and dairy, right? There are some people who do well on it. It's fine. So if you're vegetarian and you're doing well with it, your gut is okay, you'll be okay. The problem is when you're vegan. You'll have your dals, but if dals are bloating you, what are you going to do? That's when I say, please take a protein shake, because the amount of carbohydrates, your sattu and all of these
Sattu. What
besan.
about sattu? Everybody's talking about sattu.
I am just like, I'm
No?
over. I mean, I was never into it. So I just, listen, let's look at the carb and protein ratio. Compare that to, for vegetarians and vegans, it's okay. But the point is, if you're a vegan and you want to drop weight, and you're struggling with insulin sensitivity and all of that, you're not going to do well if you're going to have sattu everywhere. Right? Because there's too much carbs in it.
In sattu. More carb than protein is.
Always. That's the thing with dals also. But there is protein in sattu. Compared to others, there is more in it. But the carbohydrates is still more. If I'm not mistaken, it is 9 grams of protein in 2 tablespoons, because sattu 100 grams so koi nahi khayega. Acha, by the way, whatever you see on Instagram will always be 100 grams. Are you eating 100 grams of sattu? You'll have 2-3 tablespoons, right? So if I clearly remember, it's 9 grams of protein, or 6, I'm not sure, between 6 and 9, and the carbs are almost 20-25.
What's anda?
So, thanks for asking. One is 6 grams of protein, like the protein is 6 grams and carbs are 0. So, again, this is not I know it's really challenging for, like, someone had to tell me to eat, I don't know, which meat do I not like.
Or tell me chicken against meat. I'll tell you, I've given up chicken. Okay. And that was so easy for me as a non-veg source. Even for our help at home, chicken. More than the fish, I feel somehow maybe they know to clean the chicken and not the fish. So unless my mom's cooking, there's no fish, there's chicken. But now the other day I saw a van of hanging chicken in front of me. Oh my God, that's traumatized me, and I've stopped chicken since a month. Now I'm struggling. Firstly, I also want to know, am I really missing out if I stop chicken?
Look, okay, so when you remove chicken, what are you having instead?
That I'm struggling.
Fish, no?
Yeah, I am trying to.
Trying
Yes.
to.
Yeah. Chicken was easy, like I said.
Yeah.
So,
What about eggs?
eggs I am. Eggs is what I have included now.
You know what? If you just have eggs and fish also, you're good.
We're good.
Because
right?
a lot of people in Bombay don't want the chicken. In India, actually.
Yeah.
In Dubai, we're okay. Otherwise, we're okay because we have organic sources which are reliable. But I know it becomes a bit hard here. Although I do eat chicken because I'm always weighing the pros and cons. Today for the early dinner, my dad's making me chicken biryani. I don't think it's organic. I'm really looking forward to it, right? My mom's making some dal and bharta or whatever. So there's going to be dal, there's going to be chicken. It's a nice there's a mix of protein coming in. The problem is when it's just the same protein all the time, right? And again, for vegans, coming back to the protein source, please don't get scared of adding a protein powder, a clean protein powder. It's not like your kidneys are going to
Like
freak
the way
out.
we said, those 3 vegetarian vegan proteins, right?
Correct.
Pea and rice and pumpkin seed can be a thing together.
Absolutely. Now, like I said, right, the luteal phases, you can divide it in the first and the second half, right? Throughout this, your progesterone is going up, and then when it drops, that's when you get your period, right? Now, one of the things which I feel really work a lot for, this is not for everyone, but women who are really struggling, Vitex, chaste tree berry. A lot of women just don't even know about this. And this alone can solve a lot. Like I saw at one of your supplements, PMS relief, yeah. It's amazing that you've actually used this because, and the dose is not very high. So this would work so well for women who are struggling with low progesterone. And what happens in low progesterone, it takes a hit on our life. There are women who cry. I remember I had done one workshop where this woman was like, I have aggressive bouts of just like non-stop crying, or small things that irritate them. For them, this supplement would really work. I've seen all the other ingredients as well, but the one that I love the most is Vitex.
Because for us, it was important for me, these supplements were only keyed into what I want for skin. And I'm such a believer of everything else working for the skin. So I know that the last phase of luteal cycle also gives you pre-period acne. It's pretty inflammatory. Your inflammatory changes starts to happen then. So for me, it was important, and most people, when they have severe PMS, end up taking oral contraceptives, which is so.
And I just want to add one thing here. The thing is that they get acne. Why? Because progesterone is too low. In comparison to that, the estrogen is too high. So they are estrogen dominant, which is why they have the acne, right? So the minute you balance it out, and I would go to the extent of saying that take this PMS relief after you ovulate for 15
The last 10
continuous
days, last 15 days is what they take.
Depending on
Yeah.
what your luteal phase is. Even women who struggle with luteal phase defect, even women who don't, who are planning on getting pregnant. All of these guys can actually, after ovulation,
Yes.
take this because they'll benefit from it.
I'm telling you, I've been so much talked about when they come and tell me, oh, doc, thank you so much. My mood disturbance is gone.
But you made this for acne,
For
not
the sake of acne, for the sake of bloating during periods, for the sake of those inflammatory changes and eruptions on the skin is when we made it. But we've been given feedback and thanked for their mood disturbance setting all right, for the whole thing, like the whole thing. Obviously, it's working in total. So that's that. And when we are talking about this, I also know you have a passion project happening.
Oh yeah. So the
And I know when you're looking at struggling for the best ingredient in the market to
Yeah,
put inside,
it's
and you were
hard.
talking to me through it all. What is this? Tell me. You have to.
So the thing is that right now, I'll tell you, and because we're talking about
Yeah.
this whole business,
Yeah.
it's interesting, right? Because so for a while now, I'm just sticking with these two products that I have. I have a truffle, and then I have a bar, and I'll obviously be launching different flavors, etc. But now this is the thing. My bar is this long. It's 35 grams. I love my truffle and I want to have my truffle every day. I don't love my bar equally. So I feel like what the experiments I've done is that I've gone and made it shorter. It's still 35 grams. Macros are pretty much the same, but it's shorter. Why? Because I want a bigger bite size.
Yeah.
Right?
The
That-
feel is
yeah.
important.
It's so important for
Yeah.
me. And I'm like, I obviously want to sell things which I can eat every day and that I want every day, right? And this is a conflict. So what's happening is everyone at work is like, no, but 35 grams, this looks big. It's a 10 dirham bar. 10 dirhams is like, I don't know, 200 something. So they're like, if it's so long, the perception is like, oh, for 10 dirhams, I'm getting this. And for me, it's like, no, the taste matters so much that I want to. So this is where I am, which is why I've been carrying this around.
I've been
'cause I
seeing you
wanted to-
chew on that, and I've been asking you, and you haven't brought it
I
for
feel,
me.
I feel so bad that
Yeah.
I just missed out on getting
Yeah.
it here. But this is where I am. So
Wow.
I'm literally struggling between, do we keep it longer or do we make it shorter and make it tastier?
These are all real problems,
These are real
right?
problems,
And we have one
exactly.
tablet called Hydrate, okay?
Okay.
And I'm like, I have this one pill should give them that hydrating look. So
Right.
we can't have just collagen. So we put lutein in it, we put zeaxanthin in it, we
Oh,
put
wow.
sodium hyaluronate, which is the edible hyaluronic acid in
Correct.
it. So you can't just put a collagen in,
Yeah.
which is for most people think you're eating collagen. You're just eating amino acids which help you build the collagen. But that's just not enough. That needs also ground substance. All of that to make you get that final baby-like skin. So we were saying, and then our research was saying, ma'am, you want this also, that also, the tablet size is going to become this big.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then I'm wondering,
Hmm.
how do these people with one thin slip under the tongue put anything into it? It is impossible.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm constantly fighting what is easy to swallow, but I want everything inside it. I
Ha-
want the best inside it.
You don't want to make up because today, so collagen, by the way, the fact that we are on this. I've been having collagens way before it was cool. Okay. So I've been having it for like, I don't know, almost 10 years now. And I really, even back then, really bought the research. And now there's research on how it actually has shown to reduce the appearance of wrinkles. And this is by Haberman, and he's freaking God. Okay. So, like, listen to him. So, the minute I saw that, and for a while now, I've not been having collagen. And I'm like, I just wish there was a drink, that I can just drink every day.
But the drink might then have additives because collagen, the only two sources that work is bovine and marine,
100%.
and they stink and they don't taste well.
Yeah.
So you need to add 85 things. So we decided to bind it in a pill.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, which is great, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, 'cause I prefer drinking it.
Drinking it.
And recently, so I don't have a problem with like, I don't find it that smelly for some reason.
Because
It
they're
is
added.
a lot of people, yeah, and I only have bovine. But the other day I made this thing at home, which was just like collagen.
Huh.
I put creatine monohydrate,
Huh.
which is great for women who are like struggling to gain muscle. by
Also,
the way.
you're very pro creatine, is it?
I love creatine in the form of monohydrate, 5 grams, because I'm struggling to put on muscle right now.
So
And my
before workout.
I feel it's okay anytime during the day, but after workout would be ideal. So I took these two ingredients, put lemon and water, and just blended them. And it became a nice frothy, it looked like lassi, you know. And I was like, I wish someone could give this to me in a bottle. I would just
pre-prep,
shake it.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Easier to do.
yeah.
Interesting.
Have you ever tried thinking about taking your collagen, making it into like this jelly form? Because someone's doing
might be
this.
interesting.
Yeah, someone's doing this. I mean, I've not seen the product
the
completely,
product
but I
yet.
know someone's doing it elsewhere. And it's like this really nice apple jelly. And like every day
You can just eat it up.
yeah, it's such a,
My only problem with all of this is the processing,
of
the
course.
taste, making it tasty. Like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
usme yeah sucralose, yeah this, yeah that, something has to go
Something
to
has
make
to
it
go in.
palatable.
correct.
So for me, if it is stinky, yucky, whatever, if I'm able to bind it tightly in a pill that you just swallow,
Correct.
then I'm giving you only what I want to give you.
Yeah.
I am not adding the frills to make it palatable
is
to
the
all your
thing.
senses.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
agree. I
that's
agree.
my
And some
only
things you
hitch.
literally take as a medicine and do it.
Yeah, it's,
And I think for wrinkles, any woman.
yeah, any
will
woman
just
will
do
take it. Yeah, we'll just swallow
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
When I do my Botox and filler injections,
Yeah.
people don't wince. And then they tell me later, Doc, you have no idea. When my doctor comes in, gives me a tiny thing, I bring the roof down. And today I can't believe I just
That
sat
you just
quietly.
said, yeah.
Like, right, we all
Wow.
take everything to look beautiful.
Of course.
So this was a beautiful discussion. I loved it coming from the gut. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was really wonderful. We have one fun section though.
Okay. Please tell me.
So we are starting so-called quick fire, but knowing you and me, we'll elaborate a little.
Okay, let's do it.
Red flag or green flag to any one of them. And if
Okay.
you say somewhere in between, you could even say whatever. Bone broth.
Oh, green flag all the way.
You know, please tell me, the other day I asked my help to make bone broth. The next day it set like jelly.
Oh.
Was it too much fat? What was problem? How do I exactly know this is bone
That's
broth
actually
without
fabulous if
Ah.
that happened.
really?
But maybe how did she make it?
She
You
said,
don't-
I got fresh mutton didi from the shop and bone and
That's collagen right there. You know, there are people who dig it. The jelly we were
Really? It
talking
felt
about.
like-
No, yeah, of course you can. You should have
Huh.
added some water in it, simmered it, and then had it again.
oh,
could do
so it's
that.
okay to do that.
Oh, it's absolutely okay to do that.
And that setting is not, I thought it was fat.
No. That's just no. I mean, it is fat, but you.
It's okay to have that good
But that's
fat.
the stuff
Yeah.
you want, right? Like that's the stuff.
Okay, green flag.
Yeah.
Oats.
For me, with all of this that I know, it's a red flag.
Red flag,
Yeah.
right? Vegetable chips.
I think it depends on the ingredients. Sometimes in Dubai, at least, we have these beetroot and carrots and bhindi also actually just air fried or whatever, and with just a bit of salt. And there is a bit of salt. I think salt is fine. There's no yeah. We need the electrolytes if you know anything. So yeah, just with salt and olive oil, if that's fine. But if it's lentil chips and your first ingredient is like potato starch, please, like it's out. Yeah.
Okay. Alkaline water.
Pass.
Everywhere there's bottles filled with some $100 water. What is
Yeah.
it? Alkaline water for what?
No, I'm not a fan.
Karela juice for diabetes.
Green flag for sure. We spoke about the bitters, right? Your body anticipates and then secretes the right stuff.
Raw food.
Pass, because raw food always does not have enough fat. So I'm not a fan unless you're adding a lot of like avocados and nuts and seeds on the side. It's good, but otherwise I'm not a fan of raw food.
Okay. So salad for dinner.
Yes, if it's wholesome, why not? Like if it's got all the
Nuts and oils and everything put
yeah,
on.
yeah,
then
yeah,
why not,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, and some protein as well. Then yeah.
Okay. Is raw more difficult to digest than the cooked?
Totally depends on your microbiome. Yeah.
okay.
If
So it
you have a
can't be
bacterial
generalized.
type,
Hmm.
if you have a bacterial, this will again become a long conversation, so I'm keeping it short. But if you have a bacterial type of gut, then you won't do well with raw at all. In fact, there are some people who say the better I eat, the worse I feel. The more vegetables and the fiber I eat, I feel more sick. That's a clue right there that this is a bacterial type, SIBO type of gut, and they don't do well with fiber.
Alcohol for gut.
I'm not answering this. Because
Tell me the
love
best alcohol for gut.
gin, vodka, tequila.
Gin, vodka, tequila, guys.
Oh, dude, this is like, but yeah,
Yeah.
misinformation, but okay, no problem.
Okay, gluten.
It's an absolute red flag, right?
Okay, so a few common things that I'm going to ask you now. Excuse me about the brand name. It's just because it's so common. It's like a Xerox. Eno for acidity.
Absolutely not. Because again, anyway, yeah.
Isabgol for constipation.
So I would say, like, not something. I don't want you to be dependent on it. You may as well have a magnesium citrate 500 mg, or have a few prunes, soak them overnight. The sorbitol will work like a laxative. You're better off doing this than having Isabgol every single day.
Last but the most important thing, smoothies.
Abhi usme how much fruit is going in, it depends on that, right? Like how much fruit are you going to add, like berries and bananas and all of that. We didn't actually cover your glycemic index and glycemic load. Yeah, somehow we didn't. But no, I mean, I think a smoothie can be 600 calories, loaded with a lot of fruit. The green juice that I love, and I think like this is, I give it to all my clients who want to conceive. And it's beautiful. And I don't know how, there's no study on this, nothing, but I'm just saying from my experience. Cucumber, celery, mint leaves, ginger, lemon, and then you can add other things, collagen and all. But if you do get pregnant, if you have this, then stop the collagen. You can't take collagen when you're pregnant. All of this, blend it together, strain it out. I don't want the fiber. And drink 2 glasses closer to your ovulation, or like throughout the cycle if you want.
Why are you saying no to collagen during pregnancy?
So there aren't enough research studies on women who are pregnant and have collagen, and that's the only reason. Maybe it's a good thing. It's fine,
Yeah.
But there
maybe
aren't.
it's
Yeah.
a good thing because
Yeah.
a lot of things in pregnant women have no data because nobody wants to experiment on optional things on a pregnant woman.
No,
Life-saving
I'm
drugs,
also-
yes, but
exactly.
not
So you're
otherwise.
absolutely right. I said it
Yeah.
just for the sake of being
Yeah,
safe.
Yeah.
That there's not enough research.
Don't
So-
add things, but
Yeah.
keep it natural is what
Yeah,
you were trying
exactly.
to say. Fabulous. That was wonderful. I cannot thank you enough for really coming in and spending this precious time with me. I understand for all of us professionals, I think the most important thing that we give is time.
I agree, but I'm so glad I made it here, and thank you for inviting me, because I've genuinely had such a good time. Like generally I have to hold back a lot, and I've not had to do that because it's you, and we just,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.